G'day so-and-sos and welcome to my sewing room. My name is Cathy and in today's tutorial we're going to be making some fingerless gloves. Now I really like these just because they're comfy and it leaves my fingers free for using on the screen, but I also really like them for sun protection. I have a set in each car so that when I hop in the car I just pop them on and I've got a little bit of protection from the sun while I'm driving. So that's something you might want to think about when choosing your fabric, is you can make them warm for winter. Well, what is it now? Spring here in Australia, only by a couple of days. Or you can get some UV type fabric, whatever you like, as long as it's got a little bit of stretch to it so you can move and do jazz hands. Okay, let's get cracking. Righto, here is what we need for today's project. We need some stretch knit fabric. We need a ruler, a marking tool, scissors and or rotary cutter, some pins and some clips. Now with your stretch fabric, this one is like a 4-way stretch, but it's more stretchy that way. So I want to cut it with the stretch going across my hand. So the shortest end, that's where our stretch will be. Okay, let's have a look at the measurements. Okay, so here is our piece cut out. Now you want to cut it out 11 inches that way by 8.5 inches this way. And of course you want 2 pieces. Now what we're going to do is fold it in half. I'm going to turn it around this way for a sec. And we're going to measure in about 5/8 of an inch and give myself a line to work with. Okay, looks good. I'm going to turn it back around that way so it's easier. Now we're going to find the midpoint. So it's 11 inches. So my midpoint will be 5.5. And I'm going to draw a line there. Now from my midpoint, I'm then going to measure 1.2 inches down from that end, and then 1.2 inches down from that end. Then I'm just going to connect them up to my main line so I can see them. Okay, then I'll probably measure from the end would be easier. 1.5 inches and then 1.5 inches. I just didn't grab the best marking tool, but all my pens have dried out on me. Okay, so I'll talk you through that again. So we're going to measure in from the edge 5/8 of an inch and do a line. Then we're going to find the midpoint, which is 5.5. And then from that midpoint, we're going to measure out 1.2 inches. And then from these lines, we're going to measure out 1.5 inches. Okay, makes sense? Now, what I'm going to do is give myself an X. So this is our first box. So in that second box, I'm going to give myself an X. And then that's my first box. Second box, give myself an X. Now that is going to remind me that I don't want to sew on this bit. Okay, so we're going to sew along this line here and we're going to sew along these lines here. But first of all, we are going to turn up our edges about 3/4 of an inch, between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch. just for our hem. So we're going to turn that up on both sides, flip that out, make it nice and neat, and just whack a pin in it. Okay, and then the same thing at the other end. Give myself a good sort of 3/4 so it's easier to hem. And then flip this out. The sort of neater you get it now, the easier life will be. And then whack a pin in it. Now, I'll stress now that you do want to make sure that you have given yourself a good 1/2 inch along this line, because we're going to fold the edges in and then sew. So if you don't give yourself enough room here, it gets tricky at the machine. So what we're going to do now, sorry, I can see that's not quite right and it's annoying me. What we're going to do is take it over to the machine, and like I said, we're going to start at the end and we're going to sew just up to this line and then stop, start at this line, sew up to here, stop, start at this line and sew down to the bottom. Okay, let's go do that. Okay, there we go. Needle down. Now I'm using my new machine that I only just got. It's a Singer C430 computerized machine. It's the first computerized machine I've ever owned. It's kind of cool. I did an unboxing on it the other day, so if you want to have a look at that, go ahead. I'm going to get to that point, back stitch a little bit because this is going to be our thumb hole, so make sure you do back stitch. Automatic thread cutter. I'm so stoked with that, although sometimes it doesn't work. So then I'm going to skip this box where I've put the X, okay, and then start again at the next box. Needle down, a couple of back stitches, and sew down along the next 2 boxes until we get to that next one. Again, we're going to back stitch. And then skip that next box and down to the last one. Back stitch. And down over that hem. Gonna get that needle out of the way. Nicely down over the hem. And back stitch. Oh, I do like this machine. Okay, back to the table and I'll show you the next bit. Okay, so the next step, so we've missed these boxes, we haven't sewn there. The next step is we're going to open up that seam. Just give it a bit of a finger press. And then we're going to fold it end to end. Okay, so this bit here will only be those 2 layers of fabric because our other seam is folded up along in here. Now I'm going to whack some clips on there just to hold everything sort of in place for me and to make sure that seam doesn't go anywhere. So it's all lined up, and this is why we wanted that really nice wide seam here. Now we're going to take this back to the sewing machine and we are going to sew just on the inside of our stitches here. So we're going to start at this end where we've got the hem and go all the way up to the other end. Now we are going to sew over our X bit this time. Just make sure that you don't catch any of that other fabric. You just want those 2 layers. Okay, let's go do that. Okay, so get that positioned under there. You might need a hump jump or to set your foot if you've got a little doobie whacker like that, which I haven't really played much with on this machine yet. So I'm just going to use a hump jump. A few back and forth stitches that it's doing for me. Get that hump jump out of the way. And I'm just feeling as I go to make sure that I'm not catching that other side. All the way down to the bottom and let it do some back stitches for me. Okay, so take those clips off. And now we're going to open it up and just flip it out. Just like that. So now it's the other way around. Okay, pretty easy, hey? So now that seam that we just sewed is now on the inside. And then we're just going to go back to the machine and just do the exact same thing down this seam. Again, making sure that we are just on the inside of the stitch line that is already there. So we're going to sew down there. Okay, I'm using my hump jump again, just because that foot otherwise sits a little bit uneven. And again, we are sewing all the way down, just making sure that we're not catching that seam on the inside. Down to the end, hit my back stitch button. Okay. Okay, so we're going to turn it right side out now. There. That's cute. I did a headband out of this fabric, a different tutorial a little bit earlier on. So if you're interested in that, go and have a look at that. So hang on. Might grab some clips. So there's a thumb hole. Put a clip there where it starts. Now, that last bit, you'll see at the machine what I mean, like as you sort of go around, it sort of tends to sit where you want it to anyway, because you've already got those bits sewn up. All right, back to the machine. We'll zip around there, and that's the last step. And we'll have a look. Okay, so making sure that you get the other side right out of the way. You don't want to accidentally sew through that. Start about where your seam already is. Needle down and at about 1/4 inch. Okay, I've got my automatic back stitch on. And there we go. So just making sure that that other side isn't getting caught up as you go. You don't want to sew through both sides and be able to get your hand in. There we go. Now, back stitch a little bit. And then, there we go. Okay, finished product. Great job if you've come along this far with me. Now here's the headband that I made out of the same fabric. I really like this fabric. It's so cool. It's just one that I got from Spotlight. So there's today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe and all that jazz. Have a great day, and remember people, it is only fabric. The shops are full of it. You can always buy more. Okay, have a good one. Bye. Bugger.